Meaningful conversation.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day. Thanks for tuning in. Alright, day 2 of our participation in HRD Corps NHCCE 2024. And in this episode, in this video, I would like to share some insights that I managed to gain during yesterday's masterclass session with Dr. Jack Phillips. Okay, for those of you who have been to any form of train-to-trainer programs, you would probably have come across this name, Dr. Jack Phillips. Very well renowned, well known, I would say, a figure in our L&D landscape. And through the session, about half day, from 1 to about 5, about 4 hours, I gain a lot of insights, and I believe that it is worth sharing in this episode to talk about how, specifically from a trainer's perspective and training provider point of view, on what should be done for us to be able to measure the effectiveness of a training session, particularly in the area of monetary gains or returns, ROI. Alright, so off the bat, what happened during the session was Dr. Philip actually gave us an overview of what is involved in coming to the point of measuring ROI. Definitely, if you know the formula, it's very simple, very straightforward. You only need to punch in the numbers and you will get the ROI. There are two basic calculations. The first one being cost benefit ratio, and the other one being ROI itself. Okay, now he did indirectly mention that all these numbers does not mean anything if we do not understand what we are seeing. And of course, the purpose of calculating ROI is for us to gauge and be able to communicate the value of training to finance people, your finance director, accountant, and so on and so forth, in order for you to justify the spending of training, and hopefully by convincing them about the value of training, they would not hesitate to further fund the training initiative and support training initiative from a monetary perspective. So with that in mind, I started off by asking Dr. Jack Phillips a very important question, the difference between looking at ROI versus ROE, return on expectation. So he seemed a bit agitated by the question. I hope not. But the main point is that has happened, meaning that he did mention there was a movement to gather data based on whether the employer, or basically the client of the training, find the training useful, not really useful, but more or less whether it actually managed to achieve their expectations, that return on expectation. So indirectly, we said that ROE is actually or can actually be measured by the lower levels of the spectrum. Now, slightly different terms, but more or less similar in terms of understanding. Just let me put into context. If you know Kirkpatrick model, the 4 levels, Dr. Jack Phillips actually relook at that model and added on a few layers to it. Okay, so initially the first level is reaction, and reaction basically you are measuring the satisfaction of the participants or even the stakeholders about the training. So off the bat he mentioned that if you're measuring ROE, you are only measuring a reaction towards the program. Second level, if you're familiar with Kirkpatrick, would be learning. And this is where you put attention, focus on things like the test score, the comparison between before and after, certain percentage, passing rate, passing marks, and so on and so forth. So that is looking at the learning, level 2. Level 3 goes into application. So if you're talking about Kirkpatrick, level 3 is behavior. So behavior change, or basically applying it back at work. So there is also a measurement in terms of whether the person would apply what they learn, and whether the content is applicable, can be applied. And then there's the next level in Kirkpatrick, that would be results. For Dr. Jack, he uses the term impact. And the last level, which is what he is very well known for, which is ROI, return on investment. And by principle, you have to have those data collection. You have to measure the levels in order for you to be able to come to a point where you are measuring ROI. So he did mention, and this to me was quite a surprise, because I thought initially every program you could measure the ROI, because I have full faith after reading his book. This is the book that I have related to ROI. If you notice, this is how I study the book. Everything from back to front to back, couple of times, looking at what is being said here. And by the way, I brought this to Dr. Jack Phillips and managed to get a signature, an autograph for him with a nice message. May you have continued success. Thank you very much. He did point out that this book was amongst the earlier books that was published. Yeah, definitely it was published in the year 2000. But nevertheless, these are the earlier foundation, the concept to what he's talking about. So based on my understanding of this book, I thought, okay, everything can be measured because the formula, the method is very laid out carefully and very clear. So I think it is doable. But apparently, Dr. Jack Phillip mentioned that you should not measure every single program, because that would, and this is not his word but my words, it would drive you nuts. Too much to look into. And then so that to me was something of a surprise, because it's true, the effort of calculating or measuring the effectiveness of training all the way until ROI is not an easy feat. We have tried for some of our clients. Not many are keen to allow us to have access to the information beforehand, and it was definitely challenging. Based on his statistics, by the way, he did mention about 9,000 people has been using his model. He presented that about the benchmark is about 5% of the programs that they measure is up to ROI. So imagine, within for every 100 programs, only 5 are measured all the way until ROI. So in essence, what we are saying here is pick and choose your battles and do it well. So, and then of course after that he laid out what are some of the selection criteria for programs that you want to do ROI. So in essence, you're not supposed to measure every single program all the way up to ROI. So that's number one. Number two, what's interesting for me is looking at measuring impact and how the objective is actually the center of everything. So in program design, if you've attended my train the trainer program, you know that I focus on ensuring that people are clear about the objective at the design stage of the training program. Now, with the perspective that I got yesterday, it also means that the client on the other side must also be very clear of the objective in terms of what do they actually want to see happen post training, so after the training. So now, if they want to see monetary returns, then you have to strategically design the whole process flow, the journey, to ensure that you encompass strategies to measure ROI. And to me, that is in line with what we are trying to do at Access Ideas Malaysia. We have had good conversations with people who are willing to look into this, and by understanding you know that the thing about all of these concepts are mainly Western concepts, and their culture, their background, all of that plays a role in terms of the success rate, the awareness, the understanding, comprehension of what measuring effectiveness of training is all about. So me looking from the view of Malaysians, having worked with as an employee, going through the process, plus moving into training, the other side of the fence, being employed as a trainer in a training provider company, and then later on doing freelance, and also now managing a training provider company, speaking to clients. The issue about doing this particular exercise is whether or not the other side actually sees value in wanting to identify ROI. So sometimes let's go back into something that's very common in Malaysia. We have a lot of team building programs. Now, when you talk about team building programs, the impact is not really something that is being looked at seriously, because it's another activity. It's another yearly, annual activity. It has been a routine. So trainings that is low in terms of I won't say low in terms of impact, that's the wrong word to say, but low in terms of weightage and expectation, then as long as it's achieving the value that it set out to achieve, then it's okay. Now, what basically what I'm trying to say here is, if the organisation wants a fun time and they feel that the session was fun, return on expectation, basically that's good enough. They have a budget for it. They don't mind to burn the budget for entertainment, or entertainment in the sense that they get better engagement, morale boost and whatnot. So basically that's fine. That's okay. But certain programs where you put a lot of investment, time, resources, of course, money, then those are the programs that requires you to look at ROI, because then these programs needs to be justified to the finance side of the organization, and they are required to basically justify the spending, and hopefully it will be funded for the next phase or next group of people, and so on and so forth. So these are the program that should be looked at for ROI. So that ability to judge is very crucial, and that's another point that I gained from the session, is to be able to know and have that communication beforehand. So the objectives of the program fits nicely into the type of measuring of effectiveness or training is crucial. So now next, let's take a look. Oh, by the way, these are my notes from the session. I can show you that I took quite a number of notes throughout the session, not to the extent of every word I'm jotting it down, but roughly the idea is to be able to know why, or what are some of the indicators. Again, it's not about filling up templates, it's not about filling up forms, it's all about knowing what would you like to see happen in what area. So amongst other things, of course in the book also he mentioned very clearly about hard data, soft data, and the real challenge of ROI is on soft skills program, because technical programs where you have hard data, which is in the form of and I need to say this very carefully, because there is that hidden or indirect explanation of the priority. Normally we see these words being put across as equal, but Dr. Jack Philip actually a couple of times mentioned it in this particular sequence. So I'm taking that as a clue that these are the priority level. Number one is output. People always look at output. Output can mean volume. For example, if you're doing manufacturing, of course, the easiest data to see and collect is related to volume output. So for example, how many products can you produce within 1 hour, things like that. And then of course you look at quality. You can produce a lot of products, but if they are defect, then there's no purpose of doing it for that much volume, then you'll be wasting. So number one is output, number two is quality, number three is cost. Once you can produce consistently certain products with certain amount and quality, then it's time to take a look at costs. This is where you start to cost down, or trying to be a little bit more efficient in your efforts. And then of course we go to the element of time. Maintain the output, maintain the quality at the right cost within the time. Now this is a bit interesting because at the back of my mind I'm also looking at the Kaizen approach. So when you talk about Kaizen, the number one is to make things easier, and that easier, better, I forgot for a short while. So easier, better, and then the cost is last, cheaper, easier, better, faster, cost. Yeah, that's it. Easier, better, faster, cost. Fast should not be first, because if you put the element of time and volume, then you end up having lesser quality. So that balance to me is interesting, looking at it from that perspective, from that angle. So now And then the main concern is on soft data. Soft data, of course, again related to soft skills. So, like for example, the word mindset. I saw that in his slide, and I was like, yeah, that is something that is being thrown around a lot for R&D. L&D. We're talking a lot about mindset change and whatnot. So how do you measure? How do you justify mindset? Of course, you can look at reaction. People receive it. People liked it. You can talk about learning. People understand. They know the mindset. Good. Looking at application, are they applying the mindset? Now that's where the challenge comes in. Then moving up one more level, looking at the impact of mindset. So how do you measure that? And then ROI. So if even if you're stuck at looking at application, so that's where becomes a bit of a challenge. But anyway, so that is another element that I found to be very interesting. So again, objective becomes very crucial. Now next, among other things that I learned is the purpose of doing ROI. Again, the main idea of doing ROI is for us to be able to improve on it. There's no point of doing ROI for a one-off program and then you don't revisit it, and then you don't use the data that you have for future improvement. So that's another thing that I realized, because I had the question, how do you get people to be concerned about ROI? But then again, I thought to myself, okay, this is a very silly question, because ROI comes from the need to justify a few things. Number one, if they're happy with what they have, then that's that. But if they want to gain more support, specifically on funding, then ROI becomes very crucial. There was one story shared by Dr. Jack Phillips about how Middle Eastern countries are very rich in terms of resources. So to them, funding is not the main purpose of doing ROI, but they want to do ROI because they want to showcase the effectiveness of training so that they can earn respect. So that is another interesting angle that I thought, you're doing calculations and all of this, not really to prove the monetary aspect of it, because money is of course no concern for them. It's more on gaining the respect of other people because you are doing something useful, beneficial, and has impact. So again, it goes circling back to more impact than the monetary returns. So to me, I think that was interesting to see, because we all know Dr. Jack Phillips because of ROI, but from the time that I mean this book was published in the year 2000 up until now, 24 years later, I think in a way he has fine-tuned a lot, and he has seen more than decades of results. So I think in a way he gave us an insight in terms of where is the key, and to me it was very timely. It was a very interesting angle to be able to see that unfold in front of my eyes. And so in conclusion, I got a few more things here, but I don't want to keep this episode too long. But one of the things that I think clicked in my mind as I was going through the masterclass and driving back, reflecting on it. As trainers, when we design program, of course we design from a problem statement, trying to come up with a solution to solve that problem. That is our objective. But from the other side, there are many stakeholders involved in that particular program. Of course, we put a blanket statement of clients, but then the clients would have the soft data part where it could tie up to many things. Like for example, if the clients is a government body, um, their image to the general public or the community that they serve becomes something that's very crucial. So if they are being seen as spending money unnecessarily on something, that is where it becomes an issue. So the trainer or training provider needs to see this angle and really clarify the link in terms of the objective from program development side versus expectation on the outcome or the results side of it. So if this were to be jived and matched, then you'll get a very successful program. And the side effect of it, the other outcome is, if you measure the ROI, you can justify the spending. So I think that's the key message that I got from the masterclass, and I think it is something that something to ponder and think about. I know a few people were commenting when I posted my my opportunity to meet Dr. Jack Phillips. They said, can you open up a class and get us and teach us? I don't think that I'm ready yet to teach on this subject matter, but there are a few things that I think I can incorporate in the existing trainings that I do that can help trainers and training provider see a different angle and not feel the pressure and not feel stressed out when their clients request or basically ask them the question in terms of results. Okay, so very interesting indeed, something that I find very valuable. Money well spent, time well spent. Thank you HRD Corp for organizing it and making this happen. I'm very honoured to have had the opportunity. Thank you to my team, Access Ideas Malaysia Sdn Bhd, for allowing me that time and space to attend the session, and hopefully we can bring the ROI back in terms of what goes from this point onwards with our program development and so on and so forth. So if you have questions, if you have things to clarify, by all means, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it and see what are the things that we could probably do to help us do better, improve our processes and so on and so forth, justify our expenses and everything that is related. So moving forward, to add value, inshallah, to not only gaining profit for our own company, our own organization, but to help our clients and also extend the positive impact to community and the nation in whole. Alright, so with that, thanks for tuning in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Stay safe.
This was an Access Ideas Malaysia production.